The Discover HamOnt Podcast, Episode 3. The weekly Discover HamOnt Podcast is dedicated to exploring the businesses, groups, and individuals that make up Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, and why they love it here. I'm your host, Brian Hogg, and this week I interview Keanin Loomis, President and CEO of the Hamilton Chamber of Commerce. Keanin shares some of the history of the Chamber, some of the things that the Chamber is doing to support and grow businesses in the city, the story of him and his family's move to Hamilton, and some of his favorite things about the city. The episode was recorded on location at the Hamilton Chamber offices. For show notes, other episodes, and more, visit discoverhamont.ca. So welcome to the Discover HamOnt podcast. I'm here with Keanin Loomis of the Hamilton Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brian.
Awesome. So I'd like to just start out by, if you just tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of your role here at the Chamber.
Okay. Well, I'm currently in the role of President and CEO of the Hamilton Chamber of Commerce. I've been doing this job for almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years in June. Prior to that, I was working at Innovation Factory as the Chief Operating Officer for 3 years. I was actually employee number one in that organization, which was a really interesting role to be in, and I think really helped me prepare for this role within the Chamber. And before that, I was a lawyer and hated almost every day of being a lawyer. Did that for about 5 years, practiced in Washington, D.C., and graduated from the University of Waterloo with my undergrad degree. And originally from the U.S., but have moved to Canada when I was 12. So I went to high school here, went to university here, met my wife at Waterloo, so she's Canadian. So yeah, I'm very much, as I like to say, very much a North American.
So can you tell us a little bit about what you do kind of here at the Chamber, kind of your day-to-day? And
I'll start with, I guess, what the Chamber is, and then I'll tell you what my day-to-day is, though there really are no two like days. So the Chamber of Commerce is, I mean, most people are familiar with the concept of a chamber. Every single community in North America, if not the world, has a Chamber of Commerce, which makes it actually a really incredible network, because you can't say that about too many other things, actually. And so our chamber, the Hamilton Chamber of Commerce, is actually Hamilton's oldest institution. It was created in 1845, older than the city itself. The city was incorporated in 1846. Wow. Older than the country, obviously. So, there's a great amount of responsibility, I feel, there. We're the third oldest chamber in Canada, actually, behind Montreal is the oldest, and then Toronto. Toronto was incorporated just like a month before we were in 1845. But yeah, so this year we are celebrating our 170th anniversary. So even though our name is the Chamber of Commerce, we actually have a lot of members that you wouldn't necessarily expect to be related to commerce. As I was just talking to you before we started, the Hamilton Conservation Authority is a member, as is the Hamilton Port Authority. Hamilton Health Sciences, McMaster, St. Joe's, actually, no, I'm working on St. Joe's, Mohawk, and actually even the city of Hamilton is a member of the Chamber of Commerce. And then, so we have all of those key institutions in the community, and then we, of course, but 80% of our membership is actually comprised of the small to medium-sized businesses in this community as well. So our 80-20 split really does reflect the split in most jurisdictions, actually. 80% of our members are business builders, so they're the people who join the chamber, like yourself, the ones that pay $300, $400, $500 a year, expecting that they'll get at least that in return every year, whether it be connections to new clients, new business associates, leadership opportunities on various committees, affinity benefits, et cetera, et cetera. So we're very much focused on how we meet the needs of those small business members. And then the 20% of our membership is the larger institutions, the ones for whom they're not expecting a return on their investment. They're invested in the chamber because They are socially responsible organizations, and it's just the right thing to do to be invested in your local chamber. Yeah. So for me, how we meet their needs is different in many ways to how we meet the needs of the 80% who I classify as business builders. So, but there are many things where, we obviously share a lot of common interests as well. And there are a lot of events that we do, a lot of other things that we do where we bring together those two dichotomies in hopes of strengthening both of them at the same time.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, the events have been great as a chamber member, like you said, and I've been a member of a few. It's definitely one of the well-run ones I've been a member of.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We pride ourselves on events because we actually consider ourselves almost more than anything else an events company, because we do so many of them. We have monthly committee and division meetings. I wouldn't classify those as events, but they certainly are congregations of people, of members. And of course, then we have our monthly business after businesses as well, the last Thursday of every month. And those are generally for the business builders so that they can get to know each other. But then we also have the big ones like the Hamilton Economics Summit, which we've done for its entire run, which has been 7 years. And this year we're actually doing a Bay Area Economic Summit, so we're expanding the scope. It's going to be far more regional in nature this year. Nice. And we do Ambitious City. That's a new event that I started when I came in here and into this role, and that was about providing thought leadership and city building leadership within the community. Yeah, so we're constantly busy with that stuff.
So you'd mentioned stamina. I mean, what do you do personally to, obviously you're energized by all the people that you're working with and meeting, but in terms of the personal side, how do you keep going?
That's a good question. I think, first of all, obviously you have to love your job, right? I did not have the stamina required to be a lawyer in an elite law firm in Washington, D.C. We'd have to build 2,000 hours a year. Oh, wow. And it was a tough slog every single day, week, month, year. And I hated it. I love what I'm doing. And so that really puts a lot of wind in my sails. There's that. There's, of course, as well, if you surround yourself with good people, you're able to get a lot of energy from them as well. And of course, that if you have good people around you, you're not doing as much, right? Like the thing for me is always as a CEO, making sure that I'm working on the chamber, not in the chamber. Yeah. And so I have great staff, and 95% of the time I feel like I'm working on the chamber. So that helps. And then, just generally, I the first week that I joined this organization, I also joined the gym here in Jackson Square, the Good Life, because I know that the stereotype of the old chamber boss is a big guy who goes to a lot of lunches and dinners, because we do, and so my thing was I know that I have to join the gym. I love that I work in Jackson Square, and pretty much everything I need is here at my fingertips. And I go 3, 4, 5 times a week, if I can do that. I really see that as being part of my job. So, whenever I get an opportunity, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I have a couple hours break, I make sure that I'm over at the gym. Or if I'm here late at night, at 7, 8 o'clock, I need to go to the gym before I go home, because that's what gives me the energy and the stamina really to do what I do, to get up early and go to those early morning meetings, and to get through those nights where I can't get to sleep because, I have so many things on my mind about not just all the various things that are happening or upcoming, but, just making, revenue, meeting payroll, all those various things. There's quite a lot to be burdened by, really. And, so I need that. I need that boost, that energy boost every day if I can in getting to the gym.
Oh, that works. Yeah, same for me. 4 or 5 times at least a week, because otherwise it's tough to sustain the momentum. Right?
Yeah, well, and it's not even just about the work required at work. I mean, it's not like when I go home, it's different. I got 2 small kids, and my wife is also very busy in her career, and so things get crazy for us. And then and we're spending so much time at work during the week that the weekends become crazy as well. And so I feel like I barely ever get a break or time to myself, but I'm certainly not complaining. I mean, you need a good work ethic to, be a success in life. And so, I'm not complaining. It does require you to look after yourself, to be able to get through life, really.
Yeah. You can't neglect that. So.
No, you can't.
Good. So you're not originally from Hamilton, but
no.
What brought you here? Obviously the career
love,
change.
Really. Yeah, the career change. And as I said, my wife and I met at Waterloo, and she's from the East Mountain in Hamilton. And yeah, so we went down to Virginia, spent 9 years living there. And again, I gave up on the practice of law, needed to find a more rewarding and sustainable career path. And we decided to come back to Canada at the same time, because our kids were younger then. Mm-hmm. And we wanted to give them the opportunity to know their families a lot better than they were. And plus, it was really isolating being in DC with young kids. You can't rely on your friends like you can rely on your in-laws, right?
Yes.
And so it's all the stars aligned in that way as well. The economy was tanking at the time. It was 2009, and it just kind of felt like America was kind of coming apart at the seams. And I think that I came to this realization personally that perhaps my values are more Canadian than I ever wanted to admit, and it was time to situate myself here, and situate myself and my family here.
Yeah. So, normally I would ask, what do you love about Hamilton? I think you've covered a few parts of that, but is there something else that kind of really drew you to Hamilton, other than other
cities? When we came back, it was really just temporarily. It was when we came back to live in Hamilton, it was to be temporary, because my in-laws said, you can live with us while you figure things out, get your feet back on the ground. And of course I'm thinking, here I am, 35, moving in with my in-laws with 2 kids, failed first career.
Not even failed, you more chose.
Well, I know, but it was really the nadir of my life. It was quite emasculating. And above all, the cherry on top of that Sunday was we were coming back to Hamilton, Ontario. It's a place I never considered myself ever being. And my wife, when she left in 95, after high school, she was never going to come back here either. So for us, this was actually a fairly difficult time in our relationship. We still remained strong, but yeah, this was the most difficult time in our marriage. But it didn't take long. First of all, it was September 2009, and nobody else will remember this, but September 2009 was an incredible month. It was the most beautiful weather. Like, it was 25 every day for the entire month. And I really think that Southern Ontario, especially Hamilton, is best in September. Late summer, early fall. It's the best time here. And so it's just I just found that this place was far more gorgeous than I ever gave it credit for. So there was that. I was driving around and I was seeing things that I'd never seen before, like my neighborhood where I live now at Lock in Charlton. I remember the first time I drove through that neighborhood and thinking I could actually see myself living here. I love urban living. I love city living. But I really don't want to raise my kids in downtown Toronto or downtown Washington, D.C. And so for me, when I started to really appreciate what was here, appreciate the scale of this city, I really started to think this could be the ideal place for me. I also, at this time, we were getting a stadium on the waterfront.
Yeah.
At this time, the only question surrounding LRT was whether we were going to get it installed before Pan Am games.
That's it.
And so, for me, I thought, wow, this is a city on the upswing, and so there's going to be opportunities that come out of that as well. And then the final thing for me was really in meeting the people that I was meeting, because here I am, new to this city, coming back to Canada after having been away for 9 years, and I was networking my ass off trying to look for those opportunities. Of course, I was looking everywhere but in Hamilton at first. I was looking at Toronto, Waterloo. I was even looking at Buffalo, upstate New York, where I'm originally from, London, where my parents are. And again, wasn't even thinking about Hamilton. But I started networking a lot, started to get outside of my comfort zone. I'm very much an introvert, actually. People are always surprised by that, but I really am. And so that initial push that I needed, that internal push that I needed to get myself to go to these networking events and actually start to introduce myself to people, there was a lot. But I mean, of course, having 4 mouths to feed and needing a job was
a push.
Yes, it was very motivating. And so meeting the people here, and then so the first person I met was Glenn Norton, and most people know Glenn, as the head of downtown development here within the city of Hamilton, and he knows everybody. And so he started telling me, you need to meet Mark Chamberlain, you need to meet so and so, such and such, and all that. And so I started following up on that, and I'd send an email to all these people, and in the subject line was Glenn Norton sent me. And then in the body was, I'm new to Hamilton, would love to, take you out for a coffee or beer or whatever and talk to you about opportunities that might exist here in Hamilton. And the amazing thing was that I would say 90% of the people I sent an email to responded and said no problem. And so it became so easy to start to really connect all the dots and realize who the players were in this community. Everybody is... And maybe you've experienced this too. Everybody shares everything. All of their motivations. Their business structures. Their everything. Like, it's just an open book here in this city, and I just felt so welcomed. Instead of this is a small community, but it's not like people are huddled close trying to keep outsiders from coming in. The great thing about this community is that all those people that I talked about and started connecting with, they all recognize that we need more people in the city, especially dynamic, go-getters who are trying to do great things, and so everybody was really helping me, and I found that within a couple months I had probably 40 people helping me look for an opportunity. And eventually it paid off. Eventually within 4 or 5 months of being here, I made that key connection that led to the opening, creating, starting Innovation Factory, and then, which led me to this path here. So, the people were really the clincher for me in how open and embracing they were. So it was all that stuff added up together. To me, left a lasting impression. I feel so at home in this community, more so than I have ever felt in any community I've ever been in. I've moved 26 times in my 40 years, and Hamilton was really the first place that ever truly felt like a home, and it still does. And the great thing is, I actually get to, in sometimes small ways, sometimes big ways, influence what happens here in this community. And even if it's just helping a small business like yourself, that helps this community. And so in every day, in almost every single thing we do, it really is to, in the end, make this community a better community, bring more prosperity here, bring more vision here, leadership, whatever it is we need, we're focused on bringing that. And that makes this really fun. That's how I get through my day.
Awesome. Very, very cool. Thank you so much for sharing. So normally we wrap up with a bit of a lightning round.
Okay.
But you're kind of in a unique position where, you don't want to maybe answer and say that these are some of your favorite, but maybe more recent places you've been to. So the first one would normally be favorite restaurants. So maybe a recent one.
Well, I love Rapscallion. I love Bread Bar. I live 6 houses away from Bread Bar, and that is our go-to takeout joint on a Friday night when we don't want to cook, and we want to have movie nights with the kids. We order in Bread Bar.
Awesome.
And Aberdeen Tavern is also a new favorite. Yeah. I need to get to the Brew House.
Yes.
I have not been there yet.
No, I've been to Tavern, but not to the Brew House yet. So I'll check that out. Cafe, so similar. And you're on Lock, so...
Yeah, on Lock I have a lot of choices. I have to go back to My Dog Joe in Westdale, however. Yeah. That was the first place I found here in Hamilton in those early days because I needed to get out of my in-laws' basement and, go somewhere with a laptop and look for jobs, apply for jobs, do market research, whatever it is. And I discovered My Dog Joe, which I thought was the most authentic of coffee shops that could ever exist in the world. And then they replicated it, that same sort of feeling at Mulberry and did the same thing at Democracy. They're absolutely incredible at taking those spaces and just making them incredibly inviting spaces. But My Dog Joe was my first office here in Hamilton, I have to say.
It's a good place to have it.
Yeah.
Local shop, so it could be anything.
I'm a huge fan of Newman's Menswear.
Okay.
That's where I get most of my clothes. I love Newman's. I shop for most of my wife's stuff at So Lee Shoes on Lock Street. I love everything local. I love all the local shops. I wish I could spend more money at all of them. It's just hard. When you want to buy good quality stuff and support local, it's just you have to buy less.
Yes. Less is more sometimes.
Less is absolutely more. Yeah.
So favorite event? I mean, you can say one that you guys run or one of the community.
I had to say Supercrawl.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I'm now very privileged to be on the board of Supercrawl. So to me, so obviously I'm biased, but Supercrawl was just getting started when I got here. Actually, the very first one was a couple months after me being here, and I've been to every one since. And it has grown, as far as I'm concerned, it's grown along with the city, and in fact has helped lead the city in its growth. I think it's very much an allegory to the type of trajectory the city is on as well.
Awesome. And finally, last but not least, natural feature of Hamilton.
I love the Bruce Trail. I love the escarpment. that was part of what really appealed to me. Southern Ontario is so flat and boring. And to me, the escarpment is the best feature in all of Ontario, I believe. I mean, obviously the Muskokas are amazing.
Sure.
As far as Southern Ontario goes, the escarpment is by far the best thing going. And so everything that creates, so Coots, the Dundas Valley Conservation Authority, the Bruce Trail, it's an amazing place to be. Dundas, itself, it was just there yesterday. So, it's amazing. We were at the golf course in Dundas for our meeting, and it's breathtaking all around. So it has to be all of that.
Good stuff. Well, thank you so much again for sharing your stories and being on the show, and we look forward to seeing what the Chamber comes up with in the coming months.
Thank you, Brian. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in. You can discover more interviews on discoverhamont.ca. Subscribe, share, and leave a rating on iTunes. And nominate yourself or a business or individual you think would be great for the show at discoverhamont.ca/nominate. Until next week, take care.